Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you all are. For us, this unprecedented crisis, which pretty much stuck very rapidly, very swiftly, and impacted almost all our operating theaters, which is all the 90 countries, uh, I would say was a very rude wake up call. And your company at that point of time, which was early March, when it became very evident that we are in for a journey where nobody can define what the ultimate finish line would be. Uh, we literally, the whole management team got together virtually and looked at all the possibilities of what the business impact can be. We obviously did a fair amount of scenario planning, but what motivated us, I want to repeat what motivated us was this statement of Winston Churchill: never let a good crisis go to waste. We were pretty fast approaching our quarterly closing. Overall, the results did not look that great, and we knew there were two ways to deal with it. One is to be a wartime general, or the secondly is close your eyes and assume that the crisis will go away. Obviously, the team that I am lucky to be part of does not believe in closing your eyes and assume that the crisis will tide over. So the people rallied together. People rallied to assess the impact. People rallied to look at what are the opportunities for all of us we have, what has we promised to the street in the past, and what is it that this crisis will help us navigate. I think when we looked at all the possibilities, it became very, very clear that it is not about strategy. It is going to be about the organization. It's going to be about the processes. It's going to impact people, and it is going to impact what we would call our execution capability. So when we put all these wheels together, we did realize that Tech Mahindra has the fundamental sauce or the playbook already in place. That playbook compromises of our readiness with some of the solutions, which was workspace as a service, some of the platforms that allowed us, and the best way to describe it is one of my engineers telling me when I called him up, because there were a lot of these situations where the laws were not very clear, there were these lockdowns, and I decided to call a few of the engineers who were braving it up because they were moving machines to the residences of the employees. And when I called up one of the engineers, he did mention, thank you for the call, not slept for 3 days. Cops have stopped them. One of them had been hit by a lathi or the stick by the cops. But what was reassuring was that smile on the face of that engineer and actually telling me, sir, we were used to running 25 data centers. Now in our mind, we have to get prepared to run 125,000 data centers. 125,000 places where our engineers could be sharing a room with somebody. 125,000 locations where there can be a potential for a risk. The platforms that we had, which we used to sell it to our customers, now became the tools on which our command and control center, which was based on cloud, which was based on cybersecurity, which was based on AI, and which had every way that we could monitor what our engineer would do. And we were able to peep into that performance. So to me, the 343 that we had prepared ourselves for, that there would be an explosion of intelligent devices, this was an explosion. That we would take a human-centered experience .next as a bet. This was more about internally taking into account that if our human-centered experiences match up to the standards, then our customers and the governments across the globe would be happy. So I'm glad that the management team followed the edict of run, change, grow, first internally, then externally. They followed the edict of 343, and this is where my new colleague, Dilip Keshu, whom we had got on to our management team through an acquisition called Born, and which was, basically, as you know, Born is into the chief marketing officer services. Born is into human experience management, customer experience management. And Dilip, on one of our leadership calls, we used to have a leadership call almost every day, and he said, our strategy is not taken next. Our strategy is next.now, because the COVID means we need to move now. So this is really the birth of what I call taken next.now, which is now being called next.now. Ritesh will take you through the whole branding and the communication strategy. But I'm, again, happy that A, experiences at Satyam, my team rallying together to become wartime generals, and Dilip Keshu branding the event internally and hence for our clients and the government that we deal with. And we now deal with all the governments, not because we sell to them. Please remember, data has now become a subject which is important to every government. So I'm glad that 343 as a strategy, next.now became the rallying cry for the company to rally together. Over the last few quarters, you have seen, yes, we started when we reported the results to you on May. Manoj clearly was not the happiest friend I have had, because the results were one of the worst that your company has reported in the last 2-3 years. But we also knew that the repair work had started, and we started calling the phase that we were in as repair, because we knew that there were gaps between the strategy, organization, process, business models, and more importantly, between our manpower planning and the way we delivered our manpower. And this whole orchestration was done by the Central Transformation Office, and they were not looking at only one vector. They were looking at every vector that influenced the organization. So let me take you through the journey, but all I can say is your faith in Tech Mahindra, our faith in the Tech Mahindra employees and the leadership is working well. The company is gradually showing improvement. Some of the sectors have become a huge counterbalance to negative growth that we might have seen in aerospace, travel, and automobile industry during those quarters, because the CME, as you know, the consumption within the houses improved. We also saw BFSI, high tech, and healthcare, but healthcare only a part of the healthcare, which improved dramatically. But overall, as I say, your company focused on cash flow generation, your company continued to listen to you, focused on capital allocation, and we have now been able to balance our growth both across the CME and the enterprise. Now, what do I personally believe has happened during this period? We did one of our CIO conferences, and one of the CIOs from Canada again discussed the social tragedy and then looked back at us and said, if the Time story had to be rewritten, if the Time had to choose the cover page and had to say who is the Chief Digital Officer of the Year, they would choose COVID-19 as the Chief Digital Officer. Now, this in a lot of ways sums up what my client was trying to say. Guys, technology is your best friend. Guys, look at how the business models are changing. Guys, look at how to leverage BORN or MatPow into your service offerings. And guys, look at not just as the solution that you provide, but look at that solution into the mold of run, change, grow, and become a true transformation partner. Again, from my perspective, every part of the organization rallied together during this pandemic. Not that we didn't have challenges, not that everything worked smoothly, but I think the best of our team has started coming out in crisis because we did not assume that we are in a perfect mode. We assumed that we needed to focus a lot harder on the client. We needed to go back and look at what makes Tech Mahindra successful. We actually went and spoke to few of you. We revisited all our service offerings. So the matrix that you see in front of you is a matrix which is 7 pillars of the company: engineering services, led by styling by Pininfarina, and a complete capability to today design a Tesla or an equivalent, to be able to design a mobike, to be able to design a refrigerator or a vending machine, I think is what makes us uniquely different. And when we apply that capability across all the major verticals that we have, you now realize that Tech Mahindra is in a unique position. BPS at one point of time had sudden breaks. Actually, we had 1.5 quarters which was slow because suddenly employees not being able to come to offices, customers not able to reach out to the BPO people, processes being challenged. We had what I call a break. But the faster they change their models, the faster they came back into our business. Similarly, cybersecurity, the touch points have increased dramatically. 5G plus network services. 5G did not take off. But the good part was actually the spend on network services started going up. Our work for 4G actually increased. And it is the same time we actually started seeing new partnership ecosystems being developed in 5G. On the Dilip Keshu and CMO, I've already spoken, and I'm sure we will cover it as we go along. All I wanted to say is Tech Mahindra, 7 pillars. It is better than anyone else in the industry. And now our other verticals are coming to size. BFSI, manufacturing, healthcare, and high tech within the next 2 years would become billion plus. Some would become billion plus next year. Some are already billion plus, like manufacturing. I purposely did not discuss CME because we have Manish Vyas coming in and sharing his roadmap with you. I did briefly touch that the focus this time was not only on one vector. We had to take into account Next.Now as applied to a customer, Next.Now as employed to an employee, Next.Now as applied to the brand, Next.Now applied to the shareholder perception or shareholder returns. We also looked at Next.Now applied to sustainability initiatives of the company. And I personally believe that us, and we will take a few examples as we go along today, this broad-based execution across each of the parts of the flywheel or each of the vectors is showing results, and more importantly, our customer scores are improving. So I can only say is a delighted customer as the center of our universe, and us rebuilding the organization and remembering how we grew GE during Satyam days. Remembering, and forget where GE is at the moment, but I'm only trying to make a point is customer at the center of the universe. We actually started saying that client partner is the CEO. He is the person who will grow our GSK. He is the person who will grow our Metro Health. He is the person who will grow our insurance accounts. So I think customer at the center of universe, empowering and enabling our client partners, I think is leading to a perfect win-win between our customers and our people. So why are we using the word that we feel more confident about the way we will now be able to correct? And it is coincidental, and thank you, Jiten Bhai, for your confidence, because when you walked in, you actually did mention that when you looked at Manish Vyas and Manoj Bhatt or Vivek Agarwal, you have more confidence in their capabilities than we would like to project. But today, I am taking a reverse stand. I am saying is, yes, Jiten Bhai, you are right. Because the repair phase, my team has basically challenged and reimagined everything that we do. And the advantage of that reimagining is we today know which processes we need to simplify. I'm not saying everything is done. There is a lot more to be done. And we also know where are the areas where we probably need to improve in integrating some of our processes. We also need to take into account is that AI is now become oxygen. It is no longer a separate stream. And that means that AI internally and externally has to become part of the operating system of the company. So yes, I am confident that Tech Mahindra going forward can become, as soon as the repair phase is over, which is only about a quarter and a half away, we would become a lot more predictable in the way we deliver. We will become a lot more lean and agile, and we will become, in my opinion, a lot more technology enabled internally, and hence become technology enabled externally. M&A is clearly a very big part of our strategy. I know some of you have individually given me feedback that we need to look at our capital allocation. I've tried explaining to you that we are a lot more disciplined in the last 24 months, but who better than my colleague Vivek to help us with how well we have been doing over the last 2 years and what will be our M&A execution strategy as we go forward. Vivek, can you join me, please?
Yeah, thanks, CP. So as you know, we've spoken about our M&A strategy in the past, and it being focused on largely filling in the white spaces and capability gaps in our portfolio or our go-to-market. We focused on majority of our capital being allocated to those initiatives over the last 2 years, as you've seen from our M&A execution and the deals we have done there. At our Analyst Day event a couple of years back, I'd spoken about 2 very basic design principles of our M&A strategy. One was integration, and second was synergy. So as we've acquired these businesses, we focused very hard on integrating and landing these businesses very well within our ecosystem, within our organization. And secondly, there is a hyper focus on how do we drive synergy. How do we drive synergy in terms of client growth, in terms of accounts? How can we be more relevant to our customers with new capabilities? As well as there has been a focus on internal integration and bringing the capabilities together, the capabilities we have within Tech Mahindra, and combining them with some of the acquired entities. And so those 2 principles are going to remain a mainstay of our M&A strategy, on finding the right assets, the right management team, which integrate well and which helps grow the overall business faster. CP, hand it back to you.
The other part we all need to understand is one of the lessons that I learned during my previous work with Simi on transformation was that there is no business transformation unless there is a people transformation. So I can only say is that, in a lot of ways, Harsh, as the head of our personnel, has done a phenomenal job. The phenomenal job is in terms of rallying the troops, in terms of being able to coach the existing talent, and also, create an environment where people want to be recognized because the company is also getting recognition. So I think the best person is Harsh to talk about the people transformation or the talent transformation. Why don't you come over, Harsh?
Well, thank you, CP, and you said it rightly that when we talk about talent transformation, it's all about our focus on agility and how do we create agility. And actually, this pandemic gave us an opportunity to reflect. As we did, we tried to do a leadership refresh, which basically meant we wanted to assess, develop our top 300 leaders, and also infuse talent from across the world, a very diverse talent that we have managed to infuse in the last couple of months. We also concentrated on building a young bunch of leaders, a bench of leaders, which is including the technical and the non-technical areas. And of course, talent development across function, when we talked about reversing the pyramid, was actually key. We were blessed in a way that we were recognized both nationally and internationally. Your company, ladies and gentlemen, was one of those few companies that was recognized in the top 50 of great places to work. We were actually number 21. We were also recognized as one of the best places for women to work. We won 2 Stevie Awards, one for using HR technology in COVID times, and the other, that was the Gold Stevie and the Bronze Stevie that we won for being a best employer. So I think that was the journey that we embarked upon as far as people are concerned. But over to you, CB.
Thank you again, Harsh. And I'm conscious that we did pride ourselves on some of these awards that we have got. But I'm particularly more proud of the work that we have done for CSR, the more proud of the work that we have done on sustainability. That your company is recognized globally as one of the top 30 companies in the world, which is driving positive impact through our transformational work on sustainability. That CSR is not only what we do as an institute, but I think it is more as an ISR, individual social responsibility. During this COVID times, if there is one Thanksgiving I want to be associated with, it is thank you to my heroes. Thank you to my employees who have personally cooked food and distributed, who have driven hundreds of miles to go and feed people in the slums. There are people who have gone and become caregivers. So proud of sustainability initiatives, proud of CSR, but even more proud of ISR. So all I can say is, guys, it's a good fun improving the operating metrics of the company, but it is even more fun to be recognized by the world that we would become a net zero carbon emission by 2030. 2030 is a promise, but we will deliver much earlier than that. So thank you guys, and I know I'm like 5 minutes late, but hopefully we'll cover up as we go along.